I remember when I first got Metal Gear Solid 5. I didn't even know it was out yet. I was just browsing GameStop when I found it used and it was an instant buy. I even got the GameStop warranty. That's how you knew I wasn't messing around. Because the Metal Gear Solid series is probably my favorite gaming franchise of all time. I've poured hundreds of hours spread out across the entire series. And this was my first new Metal Gear Solid experience for a home console since 2008. Words can't describe how excited I was. I called off work for the rest of the week, popped in the disc, and was instantly blown away. The first hospital level had me on the edge of my seat for the entire time. Just how it blended the cutscenes with gameplay, I mean, wow. It seemed to have every calling card of a classic Metal Gear Solid game. But then, things took a turn. Once I rescued Miller, things felt off. Instead of drawn-out codec calls, excessive cutscenes, and a convoluted story, there was just this same helicopter ride over and 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 over. I kept thinking to myself, there has to be more. I mean, this is Metal Gear Solid, the franchise that holds the record for the longest single continuous cutscene. But no, it was just one loosely connected mission after another. No eccentric characters, no wild boss fights, no overt homosexual overtones. Nothing. My disappointment was immeasurable, and yet, I couldn't put it down. Even if it felt like a Metal Gear Solid game in name only, I was completely addicted. Despite its repetitive nature, it had a level of gameplay fluidity that I've never experienced before. I'm still saddened that it's not the classic Metal Gear experience that I fell in love with, but Phantom Pain is easily the entry that I clocked the most amount of hours in. Which is why to this day, I wonder if it's the best or worst Metal Gear Solid game in the series. So, what makes a Metal Gear Solid game a Metal Gear Solid game? Probably its most iconic feature are its cutscenes and characters, which Phantom Pain is severely lacking in both departments. Metal Gear games typically have a total cutscene length of around 4 to even 8 hours in Metal Gear Solid 4. Yes, Phantom Pain has cutscenes, but they are nowhere near the quantity nor quality of the previous games. And that's a real shame, because the cutscenes were one of the main draws for me. Yes, they're a whole other level of over-the-top ridiculousness, but they give Metal Gear a unique charm. There are hundreds of games that involve shooting, sneaking, and fighting bosses, but there's only one game where a robotic ninja and half-naked vampire dance fight atop a giant mech and no one questions a thing. Plus, cutscenes let players really get to know individual characters. It's what stops someone like Otacon from being just another lame techie stereotype and turns him into a character with motivations, fears, and desires. Sure, I probably stomped on a million Goombas as Mario, but I don't know what makes him tick, not like Snake or Raiden or all the other kooky characters. And that makes me really sad because past Metal Gear games had so many memorable characters where Phantom Pain had, what? Skullface that gets a whole 20 minutes of screen time, where half of that is just him staring silently at you while driving? Whoop-de-doo! There are some fun, quirky moments that showcase another side of a character like Miller's burger obsession, but those are few and far between. Where I could go on for hours about all the interesting characters in all the other Metal Gear games. But alas, my question is if Metal Gear Solid 5 is the worst game in the franchise. While cutscenes are fun to me, they come second to gameplay. And boy does Phantom Pain have some fluid gameplay. It does exactly what you want, when you want it. Everything just feels fast and responsive. There's no accidental horse punching here unlike some other game. But as great as the controls are, the game itself is kind of repetitive. Missions typically consist of infiltrating an area, then destroying or retrieving something, or neutralizing some enemy. It's just these three objectives over and over again 50 plus times. Anyone who thinks Phantom Pain gets boring isn't wrong. And other games don't suffer from this problem. They're a treasure trove of different mechanics and experiences. Take Metal Gear Solid 2, which has bomb disposal, hostage rescue, playing lifeguard, being Emma's guardian angel, streaking through arsenal gear, only to conclude with an anime sword fight atop Federal Hall. All while Venom Snake is just riding in a helicopter. While previous Metal Gear Solid games have a variety of tasks, each playthrough is more or less the same. Sure, you might change the difficulty or give yourself certain restrictions like no kill, but at the end of the day, Each playthrough will have Snake going from point A so he can meet person B who tells him to go to point C and meet E in order for them to give you F so he can reach God who really cares. While what you do in Phantom Pain is pretty generic, how you do it is completely up to you. If you want to silently stalk your prey until just the right opportunity, you can. If you want to go in guns blazing, have at it, Rambo. You can even have your half-naked girlfriend snipe everyone on the field and call it a day. Either way, you have options and the enemy will respond to your choice. Whereas every time you play Metal Gear Solid 3, you'll have to meet Eva atop the mountain so you can fight the Fury. Each Metal Gear game has their fun, unique sequence, but they're on rails. But linearity isn't a bad thing. It ensures players see and experience everything when the developers want them to. In Metal Gear Solid, the minute details of each area are meticulously crafted. The hiding spots, the end goal, even the guard's patrol is set, meaning the guards always start in the same position every time you enter an area. This is how speedrunners are able to plan such efficient routes. Unlike Phantom Pain where any action can cause a grand butterfly effect. And that's why I keep coming back to Phantom Pain. Even if missions follow some basic formula, being able to replay them in different styles while simultaneously leveling up Mother Base keeps it fresh. Sure, there is a lot of variety in how you can get past certain guards in other Metal Gear games, but let's be real, how many people actually use the magazine in a casual playthrough? I know for myself, I usually default to either using the M9 or good camo, and at least with Phantom Pain, I can skip the levels I don't like. Seriously, those children can rot in the mine for all I care. Metal Gear Solid might give me a lot of different tools to solve the same problem, but I'm still gonna have to trail the informant in Metal Gear Solid 4. But there are things that Phantom Pain just completely and utterly drops the ball on. We're talking boss battles and Easter eggs, two gameplay features that Metal Gear typically thrives at. Every Metal Gear Solid has some memorable boss encounter. I could go on and on about each game's boss battles. Hell, I'm pretty sure Psycho Mantis is on any top 10 boss battle list that exists. But this is about what Phantom Pain lacks. Honestly, Phantom Pain's boss fights are just pitiful. And that's being nice. I honestly consider it to have like 3 boss fights. Maybe 5 to 6 if you count boss encounters. I mean, we got a couple of run-in with the skulls, hide and seek with Metal Gear, a 10-year-old kid smackdown, and then the man on fire. Yay. Where in previous games we get this absolute beefcake, a bald fat guy on roller skates, and some of the most cinematic boss fights in the history of gaming. Versus that one fight with Shala, Shappa, Shauna, Chantel. Sahelanthropus. Right. That fight was pretty okay. Nothing super in-depth, just a big bullet sponge. Embarrassing. The only word to sum up Phantom Pain's boss fights is embarrassing. And then to add insult to injury, the Easter eggs are just lame. Previous games had such interesting, elaborate, and even game-altering Easter eggs. Some of my favorite include skipping time in Metal Gear Solid 3 to defeat the end, the Photoshop in Metal Gear Solid 4, and hearing Raiden's unfiltered thoughts in 2. Get real. These Easter eggs have so much heart, where most of Phantom Pain's Easter eggs, if you can even call them that, are just cinematic triggers like your birthday or returning to Mother Base in the rain with Quiet. Just disappointing. And it's more than just true Easter eggs. It's the hours of fun optional codec calls that are about the most random of things. Did you know that the only thing boxes aren't good at transporting is other boxes? What's my source? Roy Campbell. Easter eggs are a chance for the developers to have a lot of fun, to leave a sly nod to the viewer saying, oh yeah, we know what you want to see. The Easter eggs of previous games have made me laugh, gave me an oddly difficult task, and in some cases, even helped continue the story. Come to think of it, there's no Johnny Sasaki in Phantom Pain, is there?
Hey, shut up in there, will ya?
Phantom Pain's Easter eggs don't really touch on these emotions, but it does have a bunch of side missions and extra goals. During free play, players are encouraged to complete side ops for small rewards like capturing legendary animals. And then each mission has extra objectives. If you want to clear them all, then you'll have to replay old missions multiple times. And these side quests aren't seen in any other Metal Gear Solid game. Sure, there may be small collectibles like the dog tags, or targets like the Carotins, or even VR missions, but nothing to the scale of Phantom Pain. Despite missing some Metal Gear Solid staples, Phantom Pain is definitely the continuation of Metal Gear's evolution. You can see the DNA of the first Metal Gear Solid game baked into its heart through the many callbacks and shared themes like the favoritism of non-lethal takedowns. Metal Gear always builds off its predecessor. I can't help but think when Hideo Kojima was first developing CQC, he was envisioning what is now Metal Gear Solid 5. So is Phantom Pain the best Metal Gear game, or the worst? Well, it really comes down to your personal definition of a Metal Gear Solid game. If you think the true essence of a Metal Gear game is a cinematic experience that takes place on an excellently crafted linear experience filled with great music, thrilling boss fights, and a lot of funny humor along the way, then V absolutely drops the ball on every curve. Under these conditions, it hardly counts as a Metal Gear Solid game. At Thanksgiving, it'd be sitting at the kids' table with Survive and Portable Ops. But if you think Metal Gear Solid is an ever-evolving franchise that always tried to mix stealth and action in an enjoyable fashion, then Phantom Pain is easily the pinnacle of the series. It just does too much right. Sure, the cinematic experience is trash, but there is still a good story. It's just told through a different means. Where does Phantom Pain stand for you? Let me know in the comments below.